Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm joined by a special guest, Luke. He's from South Australia. He was with 1CR. He's done multiple deployments, come back not as whole, and for his struggles and triumphs, he's been able to be a founder of a charity to help veterans called Heroes on the Homefront. Luke, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
No worries. Thank you, Luke, for having me.
So can you just give us a little bit of a background on yourself for my viewers?
Yeah, so I enlisted in 2007 straight into the Australian Army as a combat engineer, and then posted once I'd done my initial training into the 1st Combat Engineer Regiment up in the Northern Territory. Spent a little bit of time there training and getting used to being a unit, and then deployed on my first sort of deployment. I did an RCB, and then I deployed in 2008 to East Timor, 2010 on Operation March Resist, and then 2010, 2011 to Afghanistan. But then I was obviously unfortunate to be medically separated in 2014 back in Adelaide.
Yeah, sorry to hear that. I know the feeling, being medical discharge. It's not the greatest feeling, especially when, I know for me, I was meant to be in the military for my whole life. So, yeah. Can I ask why? What was the grounds for medical discharge?
I had multiple of injuries. I had shoulder surgery after a deployment. I developed PTSD, depression, anxiety. From an incident that occurred in Afghanistan, and then obviously my mental health was probably my main reason for discharge. But obviously going through the process, you look at all your other injuries, and you seem to accumulate quite a few when you're in the military. So yeah, unfortunately, it led to my medical separation. I would have liked to have stayed in and made a full career out of it, but yeah, that didn't happen.
Do you mind talking about, we'll go with the mental health side of it, your PTSD. Are you happy to tell your story?
Yeah, absolutely. I've told it before, so I'm more than happy to get the awareness out there that, so yeah, not weak to speak, I guess.
Yeah, I love that saying. It's not weak to speak. So with your PTSD, so I take it stems from an incident that happened overseas?
Yeah. So I was actually was in Afghanistan at the time in it was March 2011, and we'd been out on a routine patrol all morning. We got back and I just collapsed. Nobody can still to this day sort of tell me why. It just happened. They say it was probably stress, anxiety, and just the nature of being at such a high tempo for a long period. And yeah, I was pulseless, pretty well pronounced dead for 2.5 minutes. And then, yes, recovered and was very close to being sent home from deployment, but was able to get past some testing and some physical and emotional stuff in Bagram, because I got evacuated to Bagram. And then, yeah, I was actually able to return to my unit. I think it was about 14 days later, back into operations.
Wow, 2.5 minutes. That's a long time to be dead. And, I was a medic in the Army, so, pushing 3 minutes, that's going to be starting to do some, damage to your brain. So, wow, you've survived it. So they didn't put it down to heat or anything like that? They still had no idea?
Just contributing factors. I think I was about 4 months into my deployment at that stage. It's nearly halfway, high tempo, first real, every deployment's a real deployment, but yeah. Afghanistan, first time. I was only 24, Lance Corporal in charge of a couple of guys' lives every day as an engineer looking for IEDs, and I guess the stress, anxiety, the heat, everything just compounded into sort of one one moment, and that moment was just happened to be, right then.
Oh, wow. So how did you go for the, you said you got pushed back, got some testing, you're able to pass it and get back to unit. How did you find the rest of that deployment to go? Like, were you stressing that, what happened? Is it going to happen again? How did you overcome and be able to go out there and do your job again?
Oh, like it was incredibly challenging. It went from being, I guess, a high functioning sort of soldier to doing my job, and like I thought I did it really well, to being, I couldn't sit in the back of the Bushmaster anymore. I had to always be at hatch just for that fresh air. I had the constant fear of like it happening again, and where I would be when it happened again. Obviously, where it happened and when it happened, I was surrounded by American, Australian, Dutch medics within 2 minutes of where it happened. So I had the best treatment I could have received anywhere in the world right then. So then going out on patrols with one medic that's 4 cars back, it played on my mind every day that if I stepped out the vehicle, and I was almost like a burden to the team, but I didn't want to admit that. I just did everything within my power to sort of stand up out the vehicle. I couldn't eat in the enclosed mess anymore. Almost became like a claustrophobic. Anything that sort of replicated the atmospherics of the exact time the incident took place, just my mind went into anxiety and panic.
Wow. That's like some of those things I can really relate to from my experience, and I know a lot of people out there that are going through the same things. So thank you for sharing that. So you said that happened 4 months in. So how long were you still over there? How long was your deployment all up, actually?
So I was a 9 months deployment.
9 months.
So I was there from October to June or July 6th, I think I came home.
So you had roughly another 5 months of you pretty much being on edge with your mental health, trying to do your job and dealing with what was happening inside.
Yeah, yeah.
That would take the toll of any man. So,
Yeah.
so how was it when you got back? So, yeah, you struggled while you're over there, which is understandable. You fought through it. You came home. What happened next?
Well, they say like any soldier, I guess, that returns home, they say to their partners and family, like there's usually that 4 week sort of, if they're not sort of coming back around to normal personality within 4 weeks, maybe keep an eye on them, or ask them how they're doing. That sort of decompression sort of time. My 4 weeks came. I had a good time. I went on leave, caught up with friends, drank a lot because that's what you do when you get back. But it didn't detract from going to the shops and being scared, or still thinking in the back of my mind, if I went out by myself, what if? I couldn't walk into some shops. I couldn't drive my car some days. I just couldn't physically leave the house for the fear of something going wrong, which made it really, really, really tough on myself and my wife. So it was just, it just really upset my normal life, my more normal routine. I put my hand up pretty early, and sort of sought outside counselling before I went to defence with it, just to try and see if that would help. But then in the end, it just, things at work and not being able to perform, or I had a really bad incident. I went outfield when we got back from leave, just a 1 week exercise, and the first night I couldn't sleep, I couldn't eat, I was sick, panic attacks, absolutely like beside myself, in tears, uncontrollably, just not wanting to be there. And that was sort of the point for me where I went, oh well, I've got to step up now and reach out to defence and sort of get all the help I can to try and get on top of it.
I have to amend you. It's great. I don't speak to many people, especially defence members, that are willing to put their hand up and say, "I need help." We get taught, soldier on. This
Yeah,
is your job. Job comes first. You bowl everything up. I got told it
yeah,
a lot. I know my dad, who was, he joined in the early '80s. Um, he's got taught it. We don't talk about it. It doesn't happen. So it's amazing that you are able to step up and say, okay, I need help. I'm having a problem. Um, I was
yeah,
I was the same myself, but being a medic, I kind of understood exactly what was happening to
yeah,
myself because we've learnt about all the symptoms. I had that knowledge. So from day one, I put my hand up within defence. I can understand where you're coming from when you said you went outside source, and a lot of people do that. A lot of military people don't want their careers affected. Um, don't want to look weak, don't want to, bring the hierarchies in, because that's when we, start going down medical discharge and all this other stuff. So I fully
yeah,
understand why you did that. But I'm glad that you got to a stage when you said, okay, that's just not working. I need more help. So I
yeah.
commend
You can only persevere so much before it becomes even more of an issue. I think um, you get to a certain point in your own mental health and trying and trying and trying that it just becomes a fight daily, and that you just start to spiral even more if you don't.
yeah, fully agree with that. How did your unit take it when you first stepped forward?
At first, because it wasn't seen as a medical downgrade or anything, and because of the incident overseas, I had a really, really supportive unit. It wasn't until I transferred down to Adelaide when they did a big um, squadron move. They moved a whole squadron from Darwin to Adelaide. And being an Adelaide boy myself, I was like, well, I want to go to Adelaide and be back home with family. I don't really want to deploy again because I've done my fair share.
Yeah,
Um, and obviously, I wasn't in the right headspace to probably deploy again. Um, and then being a new unit, we had new officers come in, new sergeants, a whole bunch of new people that I didn't know. Um, I was lucky that I was a junior NCO, that I had a little bit of freedom to sort of push my boundaries with appointments without having to, I guess, report to anyone specifically and say, I need to go. I just went to my senior and said, I've got an appointment, I've got to go. And it was simple, whereas obviously as a digger at the lowest level, you've got to write it on the board, you've got to have an appointment. It's all, yeah. So I had that. But I had a very young sort of officer come in that was very arrogant, very fit, very, I want to deploy, very fresh. He was fresh. He was ready to go. He was 22 years old, straight out of school, straight into Duntroon. And the lack of understanding between mental health in soldiers and physical injuries to someone young, fit, and healthy. I think it's just one of those things they can't understand and grasp. No fault of their own. They're young. They haven't been there, lived it, or and they're driven to be that elite soldier that we all aspire to be. Whereas you're in sort of the recovery to decompression stage. So it sort of went down very, very rapidly for me with my chain of command. I got removed from a position of power, well, not power, it's a bad word, but authority, being a corporal, down segregated into a separate office. All my diggers taken off me, no responsibilities, sort of just left to my own sort of device down the end. Which at first I was okay with, because it gave me that bit of freedom, my own mental health, my own family, my own sort of progression, I guess, in recovery. But then it became quite a burden to sort of have to be segregated from everybody.
yeah, in isolation. And I say this a lot on my channel. We can't actually do this battle against mental health ourselves. So
No.
and I was the same with I had a really bad captain 2IC. He was an absolute fucking dickhead. And, you know, I came so close to jumping over his desk and, you know, punching him a fair few times. But, you know, when we get segregated, it just really feeds that anxiety and everything else and builds up that, you know, you start believing what they're saying, that, you know, because we have mental health, we're crazy, or, you know, we can be dangerous, or, you know, we're not helpable, you know, move out. You take anything that really drives you as a soldier, especially as a corporal. I reckon corporal's the best rank.
Yeah.
Corporals run the army. I don't care what anyone says. Corporals run the army. And, you know, when you take that away from someone, it can do so much more damage to their mental health. So I commend you that, you know, you went through, and to me, it sounds like hell, and you're still here today and you're doing amazing things. So, no, it's
You
awesome.
almost feel worthless to your peers. I guess that's the biggest way. You in yourself, you already feel depressed and anxious and not good enough. But having someone else not understand, tell you that you're not good enough to do your job that you've done, it's much like leaving the army. When you leave, it's like your whole identity of being a career soldier. You're in the gate one day, the next day you hand your base pass in and you're not allowed back.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a good thing. Like what you're saying, like you already had those thoughts, and then, you know, this person that comes in and doesn't understand what's happening and pretty much say those thoughts to you. That
Yeah,
really just makes them, because maybe beforehand you're like, okay, yes, I have these thoughts, but, you know, I'm still doing my job. You know, I can. It's not true, but then as soon as it comes from an outside source, you're like, okay, shit, maybe my voice in my head is telling me the truth. Maybe I am not good enough. And then the more it happens, the more you believe it. The more you believe
yeah,
it, the worse it gets, and it can spiral out of control.
yeah,
Um, with me, the thing that saved me was my wife. My wife actually noticed it. She was away for a little bit helping family out. She's come back within the first week when all this shit started happening. She rang another captain that I'm actually still good mates with, but he was away on a course when all the shit was happening, and went, what the fuck's happened with my husband? And as soon as
yeah,
that happened, as soon as the civilian rang up and went, there's something wrong with my husband, that's when my unit kicked in. And they
yeah,
weren't doing anything before that. They were just putting it down that my wife wasn't around. You know, you'll be right. Your injury, you had a car accident, you'll be fine. Just, and it's like no one wanted to step up and go, oh shit, maybe it's more than just him missing his wife.
yeah. It's sort of that whole mentality, isn't it? Like out of sight, out of mind. Um, like you can do whatever you want, just don't get caught. So it's the same principle, I guess, mental health, isn't it? It's like, oh, if we sort of ignore it or ignore that individual, it won't be a problem to our unit. It'll go away. So, but I mean, what do you do? I mean, I had a great support network behind me down in Adelaide with family, friends, wife. I had lots of young diggers come through, fresh out, that I actually got to take control of for a period, which then actually increased my mental health, and made me feel heaps better because I had a purpose every day. But then obviously once that was taken away again, it's the voices, like you said, and someone dictating how you feel within yourself was probably the worst part.
So, what strategies have you used? So, when you seek professional help, inside and outside the army, what helped you get out of that mindset?
Um, I literally tried everything. While I was in the army, I tried an outside hypnotherapist, to help me with my anxiety and my sleeping and all that kind of stuff. I saw a counsellor, um, through Open Arms at the time, and he was really, really good. Um, but it sort of got to the stage, um, I guess, with my counsellor, that it just became, I went there just to go there and have a coffee. It sort of stopped progressing. And then I got referred on to a psychiatrist that I still see to this day. And he's absolutely brilliant. and constantly makes me accountable and doing everything that I should be doing. But then I got really lucky sort of when my wife and I were out one day. We went to it's like a dog stay in the park, and they had a sign up, and it was dogs for diggers. And it was we were both like, oh, what's that? So we went over and had a chat with them, and it was for veterans. This is back in 2013, 2014, maybe 2013, I think. And so we looked into it, and my wife said, oh, that'd be great for you, like have an assistance dog. So we sort of put our name down on the day and spoke about it. And then I was actually lucky enough to go on to the pilot program that ended up being the Royal Society for the Blind Operation Canine Assistance Dog Program. So then I got him, Prince. His name is a Black Lab Retriever Cross, and he's been the best therapy I could have ever asked for.
Yeah,
just unconditional love.
Yeah, dogs are good. I just got myself a little Border Collie Cross Australian Shepherd. So I'm actually in the process. I want to look into getting her trained up as a service dog myself for my PTSD. So yeah, they do wonders. Same with horses. Like I did equine therapy through Mates for Mates. When would that have been? 2017. And holy crap, like that just changed everything with my recovery. Like that went from me, struggling inch by inch to doing that equine therapy for 4 days. And next minute I'm climbing mountains. It's they're very
the horse is a 300 kilo lie detector.
Yeah, exactly.
So in stress, the horse it's going to mirror you, and it's
yeah, and that's what I feel. I'm like, I don't believe it when I got asked to go on it by Mates for Mates. They're like, well, you want to do equine therapy? I'm like, look, I'm happy to try anything. I want to get better. I'm happy to try anything, but I'm just not 100% sure on this process. Like I knew dogs very intuitive, and a dog will can tell if someone's not a good person, or they can pick up on emotions. But I've never really been around horses, so I didn't really see that. I just saw there, you put a saddle on, you go for a ride.
Yeah, no, it's not.
With that first day, man, I was broken. Like I always got told I was stubborn. I'm like, yeah, I'm probably a little bit stubborn. But once I started working with that horse and how freaking stubborn that thing was, I'm like, oh shit. Reflecting, every day I worked with it, I learned more about myself, about horses. It was just amazing, and came out of it, and that's pretty much where my real recovery started. And that would have been nearly 2 years after I got out. So I was struggling for 2 years, and then that one thing I did that I did not believe in at the beginning changed everything.
Yeah, it's always the things I find that a lot of guys here in South Australia that I talk to, they try all the clinical stuff, all the medication, and it might just be one outside activity like going bushwalking or something that is just the contributing factor to their recovery. It's always something that you just don't think it will be, or it's something new that you've never thought about trying.
Yeah. And that's one thing I'm doing with this channel is, talking to people that have tried different things that some people would never have heard of before, to, just plant that seed to get people to try. There's so much out there to help with mental health, whether you're a veteran or a civilian, they're out there. So it's amazing. So can you pinpoint something like that for you? Like you said, like there could be that one little activity that you've done, or was that getting the assistant dog?
It was probably getting the assistance dog, but prior to even getting him, my partner's parents decided to build a new house. And they hired a builder, but obviously the whole family's handy, and as a combat engineer, I'm pretty handy with tools. So they were like, well, why don't you just come work for us? Just we'll pay a little bit, and you can just come and hang out every day and build the house. And that was probably the most significant factor in my recovery at that stage. Prior to getting the assistance dog, because every morning I was up, I was showered, I was dressed, going to work. I was in a supportive environment, and I had a purpose. And obviously it was saying that I'd never done a lot of building a house from concrete slab to completion, but learning all those new skills along the way, being taught, teaching, and doing that, my mental health my recovery was great. It was probably the best 8 months of my life, post-army, doing that. But then obviously the assistance dog, after that, having him and having that, didn't have the routine with him, but I had the freedom and sort of the courage and the necessity of him needing to go out, that I needed to go out because he needed to. So it gave me back my day-to-day purpose of, all right, well, the dog needs exercise, I need to go outside. The dog needs food, so I need to go to the shops and get it. So I'll take the dog with me to the shops and get it. So that and those two things sort of lined up within 3 months of each other, which made my mental health a hell of a lot better. Absolutely.
Wow, that's awesome. Funny you're saying about the building. I just bought a place myself, nearly 2 years ago now, but, we brought a fixer-upper and I did most of the renovations myself.
Yeah, it's therapeutic.
It is. And I did some woodwork at school. That's it. I love doing stuff with my hands. I can, do a service on a car and, I'm quite handy, but I've never really even thought about renovating before. And, it took 4 months. I didn't do the important stuff. So I paid for like an electrician, anything electrical. I got someone and he was a veteran too. So I found a local business and he was a veteran. I'm like, yep, I'm going to support you. You can come and do all my electrical, any plumbing I didn't do myself, but everything else I did. And I learned so much and it was really good. Like I worked at night when the wife and the son's asleep. I went upstairs and, did some work on the house and it was so therapeutic and learning and, keeping that mind from wandering, which was awesome.
Yeah, well, I mean, otherwise you would have sat in front of the, I did it, sit in front of the couch and that's it. But you find something like that takes time, creates almost like endorphins in your brain to think and overcome little obstacles. But you actually get to see the reward at the end of and feeling good about it. So you paint a room, let's say, late one night when your kids are asleep, and the last thing you do before you look out is you stand there at the door looking back in your room before you turn the light off, happy. So you go to bed happy, which means you wake up happy.
Yeah, no,
so it's just little things.
So let's go on to so you got out, working on the family home, you got the assistant dog. How did that go from there to now being the founder of a charity, Heroes on the Homefront?
Oh, look, between getting the dog and the charity, it was so many peaks and troughs. I went downhill when I got comfortable and ended up in hospital twice, in the veterans ward here in Adelaide. I actually separated from my partner from 18 months just to try and recover even better because I just fell into a hole. And then it was actually her idea for the charity. When I originally got home, it was Heroes on the Homefront was sort of she's like, I want something, when she saw me struggling, I want something for the partners to be able to relate to what I'm going through as a partner and a wife and a family. So it was going to be Heroes on the Homefront for the wives, the partners, the kids, and all that kind of stuff, which I thought was a great concept because you've got, Mates for Mates, Soldier On, all these organisations, but predominantly they focus on the rehabilitation and events and activities for the soldiers. And every now and then they'll have a family one where everyone can go out and do or try. So we sort of wanted to make it based around family, community and organisations, and really push that agenda of getting people like-minded, struggling, not struggling, service, any age together. Because I found going through my recovery that the more you talk about your injuries, the more you talk about your situation and what you've been through, the easier it gets, the more you deal with it. And then sort of, it's not about platform or anything like that, but it just makes you feel empowered that you've actually gone through so many trials, and you're at the other side, and you're striving to be better each day. And then we sort of started this, just her idea, and a Facebook group was formed, and we just did little coffee catch-ups at a local cafe called Hearts for Heroes. And they were based out at Elizabeth, so around the corner from the Edinburgh RAF base. So I used to go in there every day. That became my safe space, I would say. I'd go in there, I'd sit in the same spot every day, I'd have a coffee, talk to the girls and the owners and stuff. And then we sort of started talking because I had prints, and I put an combat engineer patch on him and all that kind of stuff. And the owner of that shop, I'd never met before, but obviously Hearts for Heroes sort of caught my eye. And it ended up being a lady by the name of Roxanne Hilton. Now, it's not a well-known fact, but Roxanne Hilton is actually the sister of Scott Smith, who was killed in Afghanistan in 2012. So she got married and changed her name. And the cafe was sort of born after his tragic death in Afghanistan. So when we were sitting and talking one day, and I was combat engineer, and she's like, "Oh, my brother was a combat engineer in the army." And I was like, "Oh, who's your brother?" And it was sort of a sore point for a little bit. And she sat down and had a coffee, and we sort of talked, and it all came out. And she's like, "Oh, what are you doing with yourself these days?" And I was like, "Oh, not a lot. I do this. I'm on Facebook. I do this group, sort of Hearts for Heroes, Heroes in the Homefront sort of thing." And she's like, "Oh, that's really cool. Like, if you ever want to do anything, come and do it here, and we can give free coffees out for the veterans and everything." So, and then being a non-for-profit already sort of was like, it was a really easy conversation to have, really supportive environment. And then from there, it just sort of, we did one thing, then we did another thing, another event, another coffee catch up. Then we did like a big family day at their op shop cafe. And then one day she just turned around to me and said, "Hey, look, do you want to join our organization as Heroes on the Homefront under our ACNC status, and like really make a go of it, because you're making some good progress, you're making some good connections, and you're passionate." So, and I had to think about it for a little while and discuss it with Kiri, and we decided to sort of move forward in that direction.
No, that's awesome. It's funny how, you get into that routine, and, you're down there, and then just all of a sudden, bam, you meet the right person, you speak to the right people, and everything can just turn around.
Yeah, it was crazy how it all, like, there could have been 30, 40, 50 cafes I could have chosen to go and sit in it every day. The name was the draw card, being Heroes, Hearts for Heroes. I had no idea that it was a service member's family that owned it, but it just had that comfortable, warm sort of feeling of being there. And I went back, and everything sort of just like took over from there. It just played its course, I guess, so far.
And it's awesome, like with your organization, Heroes on the Homefront, yes, we get deployed as soldiers. That's our job. We chose that job. Yeah. Our partners, our family back home, they have to deal with us being away, and it's very stressful for them too, especially like for yourself and your partner. I was a bit lucky when I got deployed. I wasn't in a war zone when I went to Timor in 2012, But, you know, you being in Afghanistan, and I had a brother who went to Afghanistan too, is, you know, when you go, you know, days or maybe weeks where you don't hear anything,
Yeah.
their minds really wander, um, especially when it's of not knowing. So to have an organization solely to help those people, you know, the people that support us through all our crap, like my wife, like she puts up with my anger outbursts, my, you know, my temper, you know, I never get violent, and I never will. I won't hit women. I'll fucking end it before that ever happens. But, you know, me being stubborn, you know, all the different moods, she's been there by my side through thick and thin. So it's really good to see someone that is trying to give back to those type of people.
Yeah, I think we just thought it was a niche that was missing. Like there's a lot of organisations. I mean, there's like 3,500 ex-service organisations. I think just in South Australia and Melbourne alone. So to sort of start another one was a bit like, oh, well, do we, or do we just try and join another one? But I mean, the best way for change is either to start doing it yourself or get involved with someone that you think's doing it right. And at that stage, I thought Hearts for Heroes were sort of going down a good direction of everything they did in the op shop went to furnishing veterans' homes after marriage breakdowns and separations, or in and out of wards, or losing their houses due to debts or anything like that. I was just like, well, I want to be a part of that. I don't want to be a part of anything else. And it had that family feel and that relatability. So that's where we sort of jumped 2 feet, I guess.
Yeah. So you say you're based in South Australia, so in Adelaide. Do you do stuff around all of Australia, or are you mainly just in South Australia at the moment?
No, we did a veterans football game in Brisbane last year at the Southport Sharks for the NEFL League, because they were the reigning premiers. We had quite a few connections there, and they sort of asked us, hey, do you want to do a veterans round over here and design a Guernsey for us? And we're like, well, why not? And I got a lot of friends in the army in Enoggera and Brisbane. My brother's in the services in Brisbane. So it was sort of a no-brainer because we had the connections to get the veterans and their families out to a family day and a football game, which all service members like football.
Yeah.
So we jumped into that, and that wasn't a great, like, it was a great event for us to be a part of, and really pushed our boundaries. But predominantly we remain here in South Australia, sort of focusing on what we can control here. But we have great relationships with young veterans in Melbourne and Brisbane, and wherever else they operate up the East Coast. We work very closely with collaborating with them all the way up to Townsville. We collaborate with Warfighter Coffee and other organisations where we can. So we're not limited to South Australia, but we do like to sort of, I'm a bit of a control freak, so it's sort of, I want to make sure it's done right, and starting here and starting small and doing it right, I think is the best way for us to progress and grow.
Yeah, no, I think you're doing an amazing job, and you know, just having it in your own home location in that state is not a bad thing. But it's good that, you know, you surrounding yourself with other organisations. Like I've been following young veterans for a while. I've been meaning to go and do some catch up with them and all that stuff because they are here in Toowoomba. But the coronavirus happened when I started to wanting to get back into it, because I haven't been to mates for a while because they're in Brisbane. So it's like an hour and a half drive. The wife started working. She works full time now. So with my PTSD, I can't do that long drive, that hour and a half down to Brisbane in their traffic. That just sets my anxiety off, my PTSD. I can't do it. So I've kind of stepped away from them. I still, you know, I'll talk to people from mates still, and, you know, I've made some good friends from them. But I've been trying to find someone in my local. So Young Veterans is actually one of the ones in Toowoomba. So hopefully I'll be able to get in touch with them very shortly once all this stuff happens.
Yeah, well, they're restoring a very, very old car at the moment. I think it's like a Monaro.
Yeah.
Looks brilliant. So I know Matty Keane, the director of Young Veterans, very well. I can put my hand on my heart and say he does an absolutely fantastic job for all the servicemen we know over there. Just the amount of time he puts in after he's been to his full-time job is unbelievable.
Yeah. No, that's good. So I think it's going to be nearly time to wrap this conversation up. I've really enjoyed it, Luke. What's the future hold for you and Heroes on the Home Front?
So we're just going to continue to do what we do and do it well. I mean, you touched on equine therapy earlier. We developed an equine therapy course down here in South Australia with a counsellor called a Stable Life Counselling Services. I mean, we just want to focus on the families, the kids, the veterans. We do serving, post-serving, so, like anything that a veteran thinks they need in South Australia, we're happy to take recommendations because, I mean, it's me. So if someone says, look, I think it'd be a good idea to do this, I'm all for it. I'm all for doing what the people want and what they need, not just worrying about everything else, just the little things. I guess you do little things right. And I have brigade commander, my old brigade commander I met for coffee. He's now Major General Pierce. And he's a great mate, great mentor of mine. And the one thing that he says that always sticks with me, if you do one thing right and you save one person's life, or you mend one person's relationship, or you make an impact on that one person, he goes, you're doing a good job. And I guess that's where it starts. It starts with the one, and if that's yourself and getting involved, well, then that's it. But then if it's your one being your family, your one being your friend, or your one being the organisation, just start with the ones and just grow in yourself. Yeah, definitely.
That's awesome.
Hopefully things.
No, and I'll keep I'm going to keep following your journey. I really love it. I'll put everything in the description below so people can find you, especially down in South Australia. I think you're doing an amazing job, so thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, no, thank you. And get everyone to get on raffle tickets and buy some more raffle tickets for these cars.
Excellent. So thanks, guys. So everything's going to be in the description below. Like he said, get on top of this raffle tickets. Let's, sell some and, good prizes. So everything will be down in the description below. Go check out Luke and go check out Heroes on the Home Front. Until next time, guys, stay safe and look after each other.
Thanks, guys.